Discussing the birds and the bees with our kids cannot be avoided in times like this. Izefua is here to discuss the basics for parents to discuss sex education with their children. She's a parenting coach, teacher, educator, positive psychology practitioner, and so much more. She's also a friend of the house. Welcome back,
Great
Izefua.
to be here this morning.
You know, it's one of those topics that I've been so eager to talk about, but I've always had, I've always had to think about it from so many different perspectives. But I would love to hear what your tips are to parents watching right now. How do you begin the discussion of sex education, and when does it start?
So maybe we'll do the when.
Okay.
So the when for sex education would be, I always like to say this thing should start early.
Okay.
From day one. First of all, the when would begin with you as a parent.
Okay.
What is sex when you think about what sex really is? I know that generations before our generation, that was a much more difficult conversation.
Sure.
Parents could not even mention the word where their kids are. So I think the when starts with us learning to be comfortable with the word sex, just as every other thing is.
Okay.
So before you have children, and even when you have your babies, to know that sex is how they were born.
Okay.
So
Very simple.
Very simple, and sex must be talked about. Okay. And then the second when is, with you, is knowing that you're not going to teach sex to your child because you're afraid.
Okay.
You would not teach sex from fear. You would teach sex from love because of what's going on. A lot of us are so afraid about sex, talking about it, so we teach it as a bad thing. So for me, that is
we come from a negative.
A negative.
And this is being discouraged. Why exactly?
So it's been discouraged because while we're trying to protect our children when they're young, we also want to empower them for adult life.
Okay.
I have a lot of people I work with whose sex is such a big challenge for them because they got into it thinking sex is a bad thing.
Okay.
Right? So
but that's how you were born. It's a natural process. Yeah. It's something that happens between married couples
who love each other, and it happens for them to be together, to enjoy each other, and then children come as a result of it for procreation. So we need to be very clear when we teach our children that. I tell my girls, sex is interesting, it's sweet, you would love it. They should know the truth. And another reason is because when we present sex as a negative thing to them, and for any reason they dabble into it and they begin to enjoy it, we become liars.
So the parents, it feels like something parents were trying to hide from them.
And they just
because maybe it makes the parents seem selfish, makes them seem like they were trying to withhold something from their children.
And we know that even from their biology, they would enjoy it. Even when it is coming from an abuser, everybody loves to be touched, right? Particularly for children who do not, we talked about that last week, who do not get the affection from home. So telling the whole truth, it's very important.
So can we talk about the touches? And I know that we've discussed this before where we talked about good touches and bad touches.
Yes.
Obviously, we are encouraging that this is the education aspect and not encouraging parents to ask kids to go into it.
Of course not.
I'm just clarifying that. I'm saying that we're talking about the basics so that they don't learn it from
They don't learn it from somewhere else. And when for those that would discover it, they discover it in truth. So you know how it is not someone that tells you and discover, oh, they didn't say this part.
Yeah.
Right?
They didn't tell me that
part. They didn't tell me that part. Yeah. But the touches, of course, while you give the education as well, they need to know what is good touch like and what is inappropriate touch, or like some people say bad touch, right? And of course, what is good touch? I touch your hands. So this is really dicey. Because the truth is, for perpetrators, even touching a hand can be bad touch to the child because they're touching with an intention. So I like to say, when someone touches you and you feel uncomfortable,
it's a bad touch.
It is inappropriate. You know, children we should recognize they're human beings. And they know intuitive beings, right? So somebody touches you and you do not like the touch, it's about, even if it's your hand they even hold. You don't know him and he's touching and cuddling your hand.
Remove your hand. It's a bad touch.
It's not appropriate.
So
be respectful.
I actually came from the angle of, first of all, if it's a stranger, it's a bad touch.
Absolutely.
Right? If it's a complete stranger, it's a bad touch. If the person doesn't ask your permission.
Consent. I was going to talk about that.
Okay, if the person doesn't ask your permission, it's also a bad touch. So,
but what if a perpetrator asks for your permission and then you let him touch because he asks for your permission?
Meaning that before my child would allow or give permission, it means that the child doesn't understand what giving permission means. Meaning that they don't understand their private areas.
So the angle I like to talk about this from is respect.
Okay.
What is disrespectful to you? And so, Titi, this is dicey because if we can talk about just sex, but we need to teach our children respect in the whole, what respect actually means when someone is disrespecting you. And that means we need to begin to respect them.
Of course.
Even respect their voice, respect their choices. Because if you do not respect just the basic things and their choice, you don't just want them to stand up for themselves when somebody's disrespecting their sexuality.
Of course.
So it's a holistic, so just to highlight, they shouldn't touch your breast, they shouldn't touch your genitals, they shouldn't touch your armpits, nobody should kiss you on the lip or touch your lips.
And these are basic.
Those are basics. And then very, very important, I say to my girls, don't sit on anybody's lap. When we have guests and you're hugging them, calm down because their private part, their penis is there and you sit and don't do that. That is their private, respect their private.
So I'm interested in mentioning the private zones and understanding personal space. So this is something I went through with the twins. And I actually spread my arms right around me. And then I said, if anyone is coming into your private space, it's because they're familiar with you. And if, for instance, it's a family member, they should still be able to ask your permission before giving you a hug, which means that they have to ask permission.
Can I hug you?
Yes. Can I hug you? Can I,
love that.
you know,
Can I hug you?
So I went through that process. I know this is not a topic we can finish right now, but we've started in a good place. Izefua, please come back and continue this topic with us.
Thank you for having me.
Soon. Thank you so much.